love you guys.
Dance off, bro. I have the high ground.
Expecto Patronum!
39 days, one people, one survivor.
On the Tribe of Nerds. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds for our fourth reality after show episode. Kevin, Kristin, and I are here to talk about our favorite villains this week for the middle of Spooky Month.
How appropriate that Kristin is here for the villain podcast. And also, how is Sarah's not here to talk about villains? She is the villain of the podcast. Like, what's happening?
Right.
I mean, she's like a baby villain. All right. She's in training, okay? I'm the queen.
It's hard to get to villain trainings when you're constantly on a pirate ship at sea.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I'm actually more surprised that I was not at the top of anybody's list. So,
I mean, you are, but you're not a very interesting choice.
I'm the obvious choice. The obvious choice.
Yeah, so basically what we're going to do is each of us have a top 5 list, the three of us made for ourselves, and then we have some honorable mentions, so we'll kind of just go from the top of our list, go pick one, and then we'll each do one, and then mention our honorable mentions and go from
And the term villain is very what we think of as a villain.
Yeah, it's like anybody that commits evil acts. They can be really serious kind of villains, or they can be really silly and stupid villains.
Exactly.
So
Basically, what they're saying is their lists are horrible, and mine is the correct list. This is what they're preparing you for, y'all.
yeah. I don't know how many people are gonna like some of my villains, but we'll just go with it.
I think I have good choices. Whatever. I have good choices.
All right.
You're just telling yourself that there, Kevin.
We will just jump into it then. My first pick on my list is Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy and No Way Home. Willem Dafoe is a fantastic actor, and like the original Spider-Man, especially that mirror scene where Willem Dafoe is just literally having the Green Goblin and Norman Osborn talk to himself in the mirror is just so well done. And this is another insanely quotable villain, just in this movie.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
And then No Way Home, they bring him back, and he's absolutely the best villain that comes back in that movie.
Oh yeah.
So
by far. Throwing Spider-Man through floors.
And laughing maniacally while he gets punched in the face. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny because I know nothing about superheroes. I'm the one here to not cool enough not to know superheroes, but I actually know the Green Goblin, and I do agree he is pretty maniacal. So
yeah.
It's so everybody was really excited for Willem Dafoe to come back for No Way Home when it was coming out a few years ago. So especially just that the trailer, as soon as the pumpkin bomb dropped, we were like, it's gonna be Willem Dafoe. It's gonna be Green Goblin.
Yeah.
So all right, Kevin, your pick.
So I'm gonna stick in the same. I mean, obviously we're the nerds here. I don't know. This other one, I don't know what she's doing here, but as a fellow nerd, I also have a superhero. The first one I want to talk about. So as we know, I'm a big X-Men fan. So the X-Men have some iconic villains. There's Mr. Sinister. There's Apocalypse. They're great, but the obvious best choice for the X-Men is Magneto. Any version of Magneto. The Ian McKellen version, the first
Michael
version.
Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender, thank you. They play them so well, even the cartoon versions. And as we talked about when we reviewed them, he's such a understandable villain. He's still the villain. He's still doing the wrong thing.
Right.
But you get why he's doing the wrong thing. So
absolutely.
He's great. He's great.
Yeah. I did also I really liked that Magneto is just this complex character, that he has these motivations. You understand from the opening moment of the first X-Men, the fact that he's a Holocaust survivor, and you absolutely understand why he has the viewpoints he has. And then you get lines especially from Ian McKellen delivering them. You have the line of no needles shall ever touch my skin again.
Yes.
And it's it's so good.
You're so proud of being a mutant. Where's your mark?
I have remarked once, my dear, and let me assure you, No needle shall ever touch my skin again.
I did want to honorable mention, since we're in that superhero realm, I do have Thanos on the list as an honorable mention. Again,
Yes.
Thanos in the MCU, Josh Brolin did a fantastic job. I just wanted to go with one from each series, and I prefer Green Goblin, but I still think Thanos is fantastic. And
absolutely.
They really made him good in Infinity War and Endgame.
Well, in case anybody wanted to know, yes, I'm still here. I just have nothing to contribute here. I'm a nerd in my own right, which is going to bring me to my nerdy one. Yes, listen, everybody has their own guilty pleasure. Mine just happens to be Little House on the Prairie, which brings me to my first villain, which is Mrs. Olsen. Because you can't get more villainous than a woman who just hates everyone for literally breathing. Like, this woman,
I'm going to need to Google this.
Listen, this woman, she hated the Ingalls family. Like, she talked crap about Ma's eggs. She literally made poor Laura think that she paralyzed her daughter for giving her a faulty horse and was making her do all these things for her daughter. Come to find out, Nellie's upstairs in her bedroom dancing and having a good old time. This is a woman that is pure evil. She, like, labeled a girl like the town slut just because she was, like, big boobed. Like, this woman is pure evil.
Isn't he just perfect?
So that's my nerdy right. And Mrs. Olsen is my X-Men. Yeah, love her. Karen McGregor, like, amazing.
All right, yeah, she looks pretty evil. Okay.
There's my nerdy.
Yes, and that does definitely qualify you as a nerd. Okay, I'll allow it.
I'm a nerd in my own right. That's what I said. I'm a nerd in my own right.
That's hilarious to bring a sitcom. It's a sitcom, right? Like, yeah, bring a sitcom villain into this.
Is it really? I thought it was a little more just like.
It's not. I don't really know.
Period piece.
Period piece. Yes.
It's a period. Okay. I knew it was something in that
like
realm.
This lady's evil.
She's the ultimate Karen. She's like the original Karen. Okay, like she's just
okay,
horrendous. She's horrible.
Okay. Yeah, I've never watched it, but I'll take your word for it. All right, and then my next pick on my list for villain, I'm gonna go with Mewtwo from Pokemon. Like, Pokemon, the first movie, is still like a classic. I obviously when we did favorite movies, I had Pokemon the first movie as one of my favorites, and Mewtwo is like a big part of that. Again, it's kind of like Magneto, like super understandable why this character is the way they are. But it's obviously the wrong thing of, like, they want to basically use clones of Pokemon to take over the world and destroy all the humans. And, like, because of how mistreated, like, he was by the humans and being used for an experiment. Like, yeah, I completely understand.
The reign of Mewtwo will soon begin.
And just, like, the voice acting, I'm not sure who voice acted Mewtwo back then, but I guess voice dubbing, because I mean, you know, it's a Japanese anime, they used English voice dubbing, but yeah, it was fantastic. So yeah, and then, like, that made me play Mewtwo in Super Smash Brothers. Like, that was like my childhood growing up. So
gonna be the very best.
Yeah, and then my honorable mention to go with that for Pokemon, I did not put them on the list because Mewtwo I just thought was way better, but Team Rocket, Jesse James, and Meowth deserve an honorable mention. They are the idiot villains, but they're so fantastically entertaining and just, like, so iconic that
it's so inept, it's so funny.
Yeah, it's just like, I love watching them, especially in the very first Pokemon season of the anime, where they are probably at their funniest and their most inept, and it's just fantastic. So
I do have to agree that Mewtwo is, like, remember, like, watching as a kid and, like, just being obsessed, and I'm like, this guy is, like, I mean, if you call him a guy, whatever, like Mewtwo, whatever he is classified as, but I just remember being like, this is a badass Pokemon, and like, I want Mewtwo anything Mewtwo, like, I want this. So solid choice.
Yeah. Kevin, your next pick.
So I'm gonna stick with cartoons then. So I was a child for the Disney Renaissance. So, like, we've had some great villains lately. Hans was a great villain in Frozen. That was a great turn. I love the villain of Encanto being generational trauma. But like the Renaissance is like my time. So I love the queer iconness of Jafar and Ursula. So I have to go with Ursula. Like, she's based on a drag queen. She's so sassy. She's so like she just wants to mess with Triton's daughter just to do it. Like I just want to be in charge. Hilarious, amazing. And like when Melissa McCarthy was her in the live action remake and like was really evil. So I love her.
Look at me, wasted away to practically nothing.
Go ahead, Kristin. What do you have to say about it? This is what I'm waiting for.
I can't because listen, I literally as a Disney girl, I can't. I'm trying to be quiet and like sit here with a smile on my face because that is like no. I love Ursula. Don't get me wrong. Love, but clearly, which brings me to my second one. Clearly, the better Disney villain of all time is Maleficent because Maleficent is hating on a baby just because she wasn't invited to the party. Okay, like this woman, and she's like, "All right, break your like time to go to bed. I'm turning it into a dragon." Okay, Ursula didn't turn into a dragon. Let's get this. Like, sorry,
she turned giant.
Yeah, she did turn giant, then get impaled by a ship.
Get big. Watch out. Let me crash your ship into me. She turned into a dragon. Okay, Maleficent is clearly the Disney villain of all time.
Unlike you, I'm not a hater, so I'm not gonna hate on.
Oh, I don't hate on Ursula. I love Ursula.
You just went on about how
I love all Disney villains. Like I legit all Disney villains. Sure.
I'm not gonna hate on Maleficent, right? No, Maleficent's obviously a great choice. Maleficent's a great villain. Like I was saying, I was just going for the Disney Renaissance period because that was my childhood. So that's why I prefer Ursula. And like I said, she's based on a drag queen. You know, like there's just a little something extra there for me. Like, hey, happy Pride.
I had no idea.
No way.
Kevin, what?
This may come as a shock to you.
Shock to you.
All right, my third pick. So I'm gonna have to explain this one because neither of you know who this is, but the show Shaolin Showdown, that was my thing growing up. That was my show. We actually, a few years ago when Tribe Nerds was just starting, we did a rewatch many years later of that show. But the character of Jack Spicer, who is basically this goth teenager that calls himself an evil boy genius, and he's really just an idiot. And another insanely quotable stupid villain. He literally has a scene in the show where he just practices evil laughs, going like each more over the top than the next.
I guess this would be the part where I let out my new trademark evil laugh.
And it's just so wonderful. And then like he basically has to fight, like the whole premise of the show is that these four monks, each representing like the four elements of earth, wind, water, and fire, and they have to find these like magical artifacts before evil does. And Jack is like part of this evil that he opens a magical puzzle box, releasing this evil undead ancient witch that is also searching for these artifacts. It's a fun show, but Jack is just so much fun in every single episode and brings so much to that show.
When I first saw that, I thought, like, wasn't that one of the previous presidential spokespeople? Like, wasn't that person's name Jack Spicer? And I was
that
like,
was Sean Spicer, I think.
I was like, is Jake getting political for this?
Listen, I've never wanted to agree with Kevin, but I literally did the same thing. I was like, what is Jake doing? I thought we were doing just TV shows.
No.
Wrong Spicer.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go political, so trust me, like, no, but I would advise you to look up some, like, funny scenes from Jack Spicer. I think he's hilarious. So, yeah, that's my third pick. Kevin, what is your third pick?
So I'll stick with TV characters. So I loved Game of Thrones, and they were basically all villains on that show. It was amazing. Some ones I'd like to point out before I get to my top pick. The Night King can control the dead. Cersei, just an evil bitch. Love her. And I'm also going to make Kristin mad. I'm going to say Lady Olenna, because Lady Olenna is arguably not a villain, but I would say anyone who her dying words are, tell Cersei I want her to know it was me. There's a villain streak in there.
Not villain. That's just badass. She's like, Mike, drop this bitch. She is
You got to be a little villain to like brag about your murder as you die.
Listen,
But anyway,
no, stop. Wait, hold on. This is where we need to take the time on the honorable mention. Everybody's sitting there listening to this, going, "No, he did not just say Lady Olenna." Wait, let me rewind to make sure I heard him correctly. She is not a villain. She is a hero. Spoiler alert! I won't spoil it, and if you guys haven't seen Game of Thrones, go do it. But like that, when I saw your list, I was full of rage that you would label my beautiful Lady Olenna as a villain, because she was a very heroic villain.
I mean, you can be a heroic villain.
Villainous hero. We're gonna call her a villainous hero. Okay, continue with your choice.
Anyway, but my number one pick. So Game of Thrones fell apart in that final season, as we all know. So I wasn't able to pick any of them. So I had to go with, and I'm gonna try not to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for Jake. But I'm gonna go with Ben from Lost. Ben Linus. Gosh, he's so good. He's so good. How do I not spoil anything? He's not the type of villain who is 2 steps ahead, right? Like he gets caught up a lot, right? Like they're able to like get one over on him, but the way he is always on top of like knowing all the possible outcomes, like he's like, okay, well, fine, then I'm going to do this instead, right? Like he's just so good. Don't spoil it for Jake. Don't spoil it for Jake.
As a Lost junkie. I agree with this. However, because I don't like to ruin things for my friends, I did not, but they would have easily been in my top 5. But I'm like, you know what? I would not ever ruin anything for my friend. Just shows that I'm a better friend than you. But I do have to agree. And we'll get more into that because Jake and I are going to do a Lost thing.
Yes, we are planning on that. That's probably going to be a beginning of 2025 thing, just because we have so much going on at the end of the year here that we want to make sure that we kick off the year with a bang.
It's such a good show. And like, I don't want to ruin the experience and like some of the reveals along the way. Just if you talk to anybody who watched Lost, they will agree that Ben Linus is one of the greatest villains of all time.
Yes, I do agree with you.
Yeah.
But moving on to my next one, I did bring in a Game of Thrones person, and you've already mentioned them because they were an actual villain, unlike Lady Olenna. So it was Cersei, because this girl
is just evil.
I cannot begin to even, like, we would be here for a whole nother show just talking about how many villainous things Cersei did. She, like, there's the things that she did just strictly to Sansa, calling her little dove, and like basically saying, yeah, I know my kid's like a little shit, but you're gonna like marry him anyway, and you're gonna like have kids with him, and then he's gonna like cheat on you, and he's gonna treat you like crap, and you're gonna just deal with it. Like, and she just sits there, she like sips on her wine, like she's like, yeah,
right. And like,
or like the one of all time that you can literally have to even just like mention is when she's done these horrible things and have caught up with her, and they want to put her on trial, and she decides, I'm not showing up, and everybody's there, and she just all of a sudden everything blows up, and she's just sitting in her room.
She blew up the sept.
Like, blew up every single person. You're sitting there like, oh my god, please get out, please get out, please get out. And the woman is sitting in her room watching the thing blow up, sipping on her wine. Like, she does not care.
That was like one of the times in Game of Thrones, like, who didn't love Marjorie Tyrell?
Right.
Who didn't love Marjorie? She's one of the greatest characters. And like, you're just watching, you're like,
right, please get out, please get out. But also, we have to point out too that literally right after this happens, her kid jumps out the window, and she's just like, okay,
and, yeah, right. And what does she do?
Queen.
And yeah, what does she do? She makes herself the queen. Like,
she makes herself queen. Like, you can't get more evil than Cersei. I'm sorry, you can't.
No.
I love the woman.
No.
I think, again, we got to get you in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, maybe that's another show at some point.
That'll be the next series that are lost.
All right, so let's hit one more movie, and then I am gonna switch up a member of my top 5 so we can all have a reality TV villain, just because they were already in my honorable mentions, but we'll get to that last, and we will do another
Live TV switching things up on us.
yeah. I mean, they were in my honorable mentions at least, so they're there.
They were.
But all right. Well, for movies, I'm gonna go Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, and I had General Grievous and Darth Maul. I'd probably throw Darth Vader in there as well, but because that's just an iconic villain. But Emperor Palpatine, just like I grew up with the prequels, so I got to sit there and watch this manipulative old man manipulate an entire Senate to basically just give him all this power. And just like take over and become the emperor of an entire galaxy. Like, it was actually riveting to watch. And then by the time like you get, and like then, you know, I watched the original trilogy along the way too, because I got the entire movie set of all 6 movies at that point for on DVD. So like I watched that and like knew obviously he was going to become Emperor Palpatine. So it's like riveting to watch that journey of like him gaining all this power, and then you get to Revenge of the Sith, and Ian McDiarmid is just playing it up, having so much fun as like being as maniacal as he can be. And like, again, like if you watch one of our past Survivor reviews, Australian Survivor reviews on the main channel, Tribe of Nerds, you can see Eden from Titans vs. Rebels having a Emperor Palpatine off on the channel. So if you want to go watch a Survivor player have fun with us, definitely go check that out. But I think Emperor Palpatine is fantastic. Until you get to Rise of Skywalker, then they...
I was going to say, yeah, I would only disqualify him from my own list just because...
Rise of Skywalker.
That episode 9.
Yeah, I don't count it. Yeah, somehow he returned. The worst written dialogue I've ever heard in my life, but...
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, no, well, we just won't count that.
No, in the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, he is really great though. Yeah, that's a good choice. I support that. And have you watched Star Wars at all, Kristin?
No. I'm just here. I actually was starting to Google like what the heck you guys are talking about, because again, like I'm a nerd in my own right. Okay, I'm a nerd in my own right.
He's the one who shoots the lightning out of his hands to try to kill. Okay, all right, fine.
Sure. Yeah,
you don't know who that is. Wow. All right.
That's like
no, I do.
That's imagery. That's like 40 years old, Kristin.
When he shot lightning out of his hands for the first time, I was just, like mind blown. It was so like great.
Unlimited power.
Unlimited power.
All right, Kevin, your 4th pick.
All right, so my next movie pick. I mean, I have talked about how this character before, as a child, scared the shit out of me, and then as an adult, like, didn't quite scare the shit out of me anymore, but was still a very scary and very like formidable villain, and that's Pennywise. Pennywise from It.
Do you have Prince Albert in a can? You do? Well, you better let the poor guy out.
Yeah, Mike Hanlon said I had to go. Said I had to get cleaned up.
Yeah.
The evil clown. I was scared of clowns literally for years because of Pennywise from the original made for TV movies.
Tim Curry, yeah.
Yes. Like, people talk about like how you know Tim Curry, and I'm like, It. So that was great. And then the remake, I don't know what year was that. I feel like it was before the
2017 and then like 2019, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it was pre-pandemic. That first one, like I said, when they're in his house and they have to open the 3 doors.
Yes.
You know something terrible is behind each of the doors, and it doesn't matter which one they open. And they open the one, and it's like the torso of the girl. Oh my god, he's so evil. He's so evil, and he's so creepy. And like, I'm an adult now, and so I'm not like terrified of clowns unreasonably, but it did stick with me for a while.
Yeah, I watched the 2017 one, the first one with Bill Skarsgård, and then I believe my fraternity brothers and I at the time, one of them is like, hey, there was actually the original with Tim Curry, so they showed us that afterwards. Like, part of it, like, everything except Tim Curry, like Tim Curry was clearly the best part of that, like, made for TV movie. So like every time he was on screen was fantastic. And then I didn't care about the other characters in that, but
no. It's a little silly. The original version is a little silly, but I think I brought it up. Like, I remember watching it as a child, and like a child in what, the late 80s, early 90s, like where were the adults? Typical. Yeah. And like it was on TV, and my twin cousins and my little brother were like too young to really get it, but none of us knew where the remote was because we're like dumb little kids. And I was just old enough to be like, that's not a good clown. That's not a good clown. Don't talk to that clown. He's not good. And somebody changed a channel just before Georgie died. Somehow it went back to the movie. Like we ended back on that channel, and my little brother and my cousins are like, "Where's Georgie? Where'd he go?" And I'm like, "Don't ask."
Don't ask. I agree with Jake. Like literally anything Tim Curry touches is like pure gold. But like, I too like was the kid that watched the original as a kid. Again, where are the parents? This brings me to obviously the better choice of horror killer, which is Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, and Senator, just one more thing. Love your suit.
We're talking like top villain of probably of all time. The man is like, he's refined and he's intelligent and he's just like somebody rude just irritates him and he's like, I think I'm gonna have you for dinner tonight. This is like just villain hardcore to the T, number one villain of all time.
I mean, yeah, he's a great villain. I'll give you that. He didn't lead to like 15 years of being terrified of men in masks for me, but
I mean, you should have. He wore his own little mask because they had to keep him from eating people. So, that's a different type of mask, but sure.
Right. So
see, here's the more terrifying part for me, that like Hannibal Lecter could be literally your neighbor. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I do live in Florida, so yes.
Yes, it is Florida, but like anywhere, like just literally anywhere. That's just like Hannibal Lecter is just a regular person that has like questionable taste in like food, right? Like he could be your neighbor and you don't know, and you're just like, oh my god, Hannibal! Like, can I borrow a cup of sugar? He's like, sure, come on in. And now you're on the menu. Like, it's terrifying. Like.
Right.
I'm so sorry. When he the sewer is not doing it for me. Hannibal Lecter, who could literally be your neighbor, a little terrifying.
Yes. When he says come over for dinner, he doesn't mean to be served dinner. He means you're going to be dinner. I mean, like, even though she's not here, I'm sure Sarah would point out the Saw guy, Mr. Saw, whatever the fuck his name is.
John Kramer.
Saw.
I can't with you.
I obviously know it's John Kramer or Jigsaw. I obviously know that, but I'm trying to insult Sarah even though she's not here.
Why? I'm just kidding.
That's fun. I mean, let's also honorable mention Ghostface.
Yeah.
Because
the 5 million people that could be Ghostface, which one are you?
I mean, it's 10. It's 10, maybe 11 if Angelina is really alive somewhere. But
there's like 5 million of them to choose from. Like, which one are you gonna shout out?
No, like the persona, like the face, the cape,
so
all of it. Like
the costume is
villain. You put that costume on, you have superpowers. So
yeah. It's no. The superpower being that, like, literally you get hit with
you can grow and you can lift people
for at least 10 minutes.
Yeah. You can also trip over chairs and everything and be completely fine 5 seconds later.
And then you just like get up and you're like, oh, okay. Like, let me stab you now. I mean, listen, like here's I've been actually very horrible. You guys have been like perfect in like your segues for honorable mentions. I have not mentioned any of mine yet. So I'm gonna shout out my honorable mentions before we get to our last people, because I know that we're all going to reality TV, so it's like a little weird now. Mine are all from the movies. I've got Miss Trunchbull from Matilda, like the girls throwing kids in the chokey. It's sad. We have the original Mean Girl, Regina George, who has been victimized by Regina George. Love her. The White Witch from Narnia. All right, like come on, villain.
Tilda
right?
Swinton.
Yeah, and then this one's gonna shock people. And spoiler alert for the Wicked movie. The Wizard is actually the villain in Wizard of Oz. It is not the Wicked Witch of the West. So we'll let you guys. I won't spoil alert for you, but spoiler alert.
I'm like kind of excited to see that movie. Like, Wicked.
Like, this is its own podcast, and I will rightfully say that this is I cannot not wait to not see this movie. So
you don't want to see it?
Oh no, I will refuse. I am boycotting.
Okay,
I'm gonna do my honorable mentions, and then we can. Kevin, did you have any other ones you wanted to mention before I do mine?
No, I think I mentioned them all.
Okay, so I'll do mine, and then we'll jump into our reality TV villains. So originally, I didn't know you guys were gonna go reality TV, so originally I threw on like another fictional character, and like I had a couple other options of going with an evil doctor. And I was either going to go Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb because, again, another stupid villain that is hilarious and literally fights a platypus, like an insanely quotable. And then Dr. Neocortex from the Crash Bandicoot video games, and that's something I grew up with. Crash Twinsanity is like a cult favorite of mine.
I played Crash Bandicoot at some point.
Yeah, the originals are probably the best, but Crash Twinsanity was like one of the PS2 like era after the originals, probably the best one in my opinion, but it's also like a very messy game. But Cortex, the fact again, like he's this maniacal doctor who's like basically torturing animals, evolving them, and like trying to make like an animal army, and accidentally creates Crash, which is a Looney Tunes idiot character that spins around, collects fruit, and yeah, just doesn't have a brain. And still manages to beat Cortex every single time.
Like, you just described the wizard in Wizard of Oz. Like, he legit is doing this to the animal. Listen, wicked. Spoiler alert. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, so those would be my honorable mentions that I didn't already mention. All right, we're gonna head into our reality TV villains. Mine, so I had to think about like, because I was thinking about at least honorable mention at first, and then I'm like, okay, let's all go reality TV. And I'm thinking about for Survivor, who really made me feel like they were a villain I could get behind. And we've had so many iconic villains, and like I thought about Tony, but then I'm like, I don't necessarily consider Tony a villain anymore. And then we get to post-pandemic Survivor, which the new era has been hit or miss, mostly miss. But you get to Australian Survivor, International Survivor, and you get King George coming in 2021 and 2023 and upcoming next year. But King George is just fantastic television. I have to put him as my number 5.
George from Survivor Brains versus Brawn. I got to the final tribal council and I was robbed. I'm coming back to take back what's rightfully mine. My crown that Haley stole from me.
He is this mastermind who is a very out there character. Like, I've met him before last year, and like I can attest to that he is a really interesting guy in real life. Very observant. He knows, like, he sees something and he can point something out like really immediately that you wouldn't even notice. Like, he noticed my Tribe of Nerds shirt when I went there and nobody else really cared about it, but he pointed it out, and you know, we talked a little bit, took a picture, and I think George is just fantastic. Like the Fraser blindside, as we've talked about with Kristin.
Fraser blindside is one of the greatest episodes of Survivor in like the entire history of Survivor.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, the fact like he can pull this blindside out, that he can get Shawnee and Liz on board, that he can get basically Simon and Jordy and Stevie to all fight with each other, and then take out the middleman in Fraser, who's like kind of the glue between Simon and Jordy. Like, so fantastic.
So good.
Yeah.
But he's also like, I don't think God likes Paige. Like,
yes, that line, yes. It's so funny. Like, I just, it's fantastic. And like, I wish he would have won either of his seasons. He loses to Haley his first time because that jury just didn't jive with him. And then the second time he literally would have dominated that final tribal, but they finally took him out because Liz won the final immunity, and like Jerry and Matt were obviously not going to turn on each other. So, like,
he should have kept Nina.
Well, yeah, he should have kept Nina for sure. That was his mistake. But it just like, I think he was probably thinking, okay, we just have to stop Liz from winning immunity and I can take my goats to the end. But like, it just didn't work out, unfortunately.
Liz took his goats.
Yeah, Liz took his goats, unfortunately.
Yes, love Liz too.
Yeah, I like Liz as well. I just think like, I wish George would have won because it would have meant more to me to have him win Heroes versus Villains, especially. So,
but that also just means that they have to bring him back again.
And they are.
They are.
Right.
We'll have to see how that goes.
Yes, yes. He was on my honorable mention list, along with like several of the villains from US Heroes vs. Villains. I've met Sandra a couple times. Sandra's amazing. Sandra played Vanquish with us. Sandra's amazing.
Yes.
We love her. Parvati, the Black Widow Brigade, like, it's so good. It's so good. She's so good in Micronesia. When she pulls out the two idols in Heroes, she's so good. I love her. I also just like personally really like Tyson. like just like
snarky. Yeah.
He's very sassy. But I'm actually, as much as I love Survivor, I'm going with a Big Brother player, and I'm going with Danielle Reyes from way, way back in Big Brother 3. Another one who, like, it's such a shame the jury didn't vote for her. Like, she was so good. She was so sneaky, and like, she is the reason why now the jury's in sequester for Big Brother, right? So like, when the jury gets voted out, they go into sequester house. They don't, because she was in her diary room, like, talking shit on people, and like, we're all laughing along with her, and she was great TV. But then they all got mad at her for doing it, and then they voted for Lisa. And no shade to Lisa. Lisa's a great player too. It's not that Lisa didn't deserve the win, but like, the fact that they just like were bitter at Danielle is why they had to change the game for her, like, based on what happened to her. So I love her, and she called herself the Black Widow when she came back for All Stars.
That's fantastic.
I too agree with your choices, but I think that they're villainous heroes. I don't think that they're necessarily villains, because you can't like be liked. Like, granted, Danielle was not liked, but she's very well liked now. But I'm gonna bring up the villain of all villains of reality TV in Russell Hantz.
I'm a villain. I think villains are smarter than heroes. It's a fact. It's a proven fact. Google it.
Everybody hates the man. Like, see Kevin's reaction. Is the villain of all villains in reality TV. Brilliant. The man found idols without clues for the first time ever. He's changing the game, but he sucks. He is like the biggest piece of trash that you're sitting there going, oh my God, stop talking. Like, please stop talking. You're like, you are not all powerful God knowing everything. And he just is like, I don't like you, I'm gonna vote you out. Like, shut up and go back to the swamp. Like, but
so here's the thing, Kristin. Here's the thing. If he wasn't a little bitch and a little crybaby and a sore loser,
after every season, yeah.
But like,
listen, we're not talking about after the show. We're talking about on the show. He is the villain of all time.
Right. So that's why that's why I can't have it, because like.
But yes, I get that, but that's not on the show.
But you're bitching.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is one of those that cries about a lot of things after the show.
It's so
Yeah.
unfair.
Yeah, the America should have a part of the vote so they can like rig it for me to win. Like, it's just
Right.
it's so stupid.
But no, in all reality, we hate you just as much as the people on the island. But it's like, here's the thing. I remember watching his first season Smo for the like as a kid, like,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I hate this man. This man is horrible. Blah 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 blah. In the rewatch, now that I'm an adult, still hate the man. Okay, like,
Mhm.
let's not get it twisted. He's still horrible, and he sucks at the social game of Survivor, which is a huge key part of it. But still, going back to watching Samoa, that man was actually pretty brilliant for the time of where Survivor was. And I do think that, like, don't come for me, Survivor people, but I honestly think that he was robbed of that win in Samoa. But it's the key factor of the social game, which is huge. So again, I understand why he lost. But like, when you look at like everything that he did and changed the game of Survivor just in that one season, it's kind of crazy to look at.
Yeah, I'll say, like, for Russell, like, I can't deny, like, strategically he did make an impact on Survivor history. And like, up until that point on Survivor, I'd say the villains that you'd say were Richard Hatch, Johnny Fairplay, probably Rob Cesternino, Boston Rob. Like, you would have those four probably as like your villains. Jerry is
She was
another
not
big...
a villain. Okay,
Well, she wasn't a villain,
She was
but the way
treated
that,
like a villain.
yeah,
She was
treated
villain
like a
that
villain,
she
but
wasn't
she was
like
not.
nice.
Yeah, the way the fans treated Jerry
Right.
made her in that top 5. So that would definitely be those like big villains up until this point. And then we get to season 19 and you have a guy lying about Hurricane Katrina and like burning people's socks. And like from like 2009 to like 2013, you have the Hantz era of reality TV. You have Russell, you have Brandon, and then Russell's brother Willie got kicked off of Big Brother.
He was on Big Brother, and he got booted.
Yeah, so like the
meltdown.
entire era, and then Russell crossed over to Australian Survivor like 5 or 6 years ago and got embarrassed by the Australians. Like,
because that's the thing, is that like no one actually likes him. So like,
Yeah.
and now they all know his shtick. So like he can never come back and recreate that magic anymore.
No.
And like, I mean, by the time Heroes versus Villains, like Heroes versus Villains, they didn't get to see Samoa because it was
Exactly.
filmed before it aired. And then we get to Redemption Island. Everybody knew Russell, like, by that point. And so, like, they obviously, like, it was stupid, but they threw a challenge just to get rid of him because he was
Oh
so
my gosh, that purple
insufferable.
tribe
Yeah.
screwed themselves over.
Yeah. And but, like, they shouldn't have done that, but, like, he was so horrible to live with, they just wanted to get him out. Like,
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Again, so villain of all that. Like, this is how bad he is, that people are throwing, like, ruining their games just so they don't need to be with him. Like,
yeah, exactly. So I think that's it. I think we got our villains. I mean, any other honorable mentions now that we've kind of
I mean, Kristin, I would definitely say is a villain.
I am, and I love it. I mean, I won't even argue because I am.
And like Sarah is basically like a ghost, so I think that counts as a villain.
Yeah.
She's evil, like an evil pirate ghost.
Yeah, she's like
she's trying really hard to be a villain, but she's not. I'll teach her my ways later.
Please don't.
I mean, listen, like, people talk about you and Sarah's rivalry, but like, I just like make people cry, so I'm here for it.
Or make me cry.
Don't worry, I'll work on it.
Yeah.
And this is why I mentioned you.
Most people are like, I'm so glad I didn't make you cry. And me, I'm like, I'll work on it.
Right. Well, Kristen's like, I'll work on it. Also, can you babysit my kids?
Please, thank you.
Well, we're very excited now. With this done, we're going to finish off Spooky Month next week. Well, technically the next 2 weeks, we are going to have Venom 3 next week, and then the Agatha All Along review for that MCU show, the very beginning of November. That show. It's actually good. It's very good.
It actually turned out to be one of the like really, really good Marvel Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, so it's going to be 2 Marvel things back to back. I mean, Venom, Sony Marvels. We'll see how that... It's probably not going to be good, but it's going to be stupid fun, where it's, like, not good, but at least Tom Hardy makes it fun. So I'll probably still enjoy it next week. And then once we get to November, it's going to be a lot of reviewing a lot of classic movies up until our big celebration in December together. So very excited for that. And with that, we will see you all next time on The Tribe of Nerds.